Okay, hi guys, it is Dan here, and today we are going to be talking about The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb, which is the second book in the Liveship Traders trilogy, which is the second trilogy in the overarching realm of the Elderlings series. So that makes this the fifth book in the realm of the Elderlings series, if I haven't lost you already. But anyway, this is the first book in this trilogy was really like a family drama in a fantasy setting, and this second book sort of expands on that. It really expands on the great work that Hobb did in Ship of Magic, and it moves more into the realm of what you would expect from an epic fantasy. So yeah, this is more of an epic fantasy, but still with a lot of those family drama elements. Now, there's a couple of main plot threads in this book. The first one deals with the live ship Vivacia, and Vivacia. A live ship is like a magic talking ship, and they're very important in this series. And the Vivacia was owned by the Vestrit family, and I say owned because, and this is a bit of a spoiler for the first book. But the Vivacia was captured at the end of the first book by the pirate captain Kenneth, and it was captured along with the captain Kyle Haven and his son Wintro. So we follow them around for a lot of the book as Kenneth basically tries to establish his own kingdom in the Pirate Isles out of all the disparate communities that have set themselves up there. But meanwhile, back in Bingtown, which is where a lot of this series is set, we follow the women of the Vestrit family as they're informed that the Vivacia has been captured, so they have to scrape together enough resources to basically launch a rescue expedition, and they receive some kind of unexpected help in the form of Althea Vestrit, who is another woman of the Vestrit family, and she returns from a sort of self-imposed exile that she's been away on. And two of her friends, Brashen Trell and Amber, the bead maker, who we were both introduced to in the first book, they propose that in order to effect this rescue, they should renovate and refurbish this derelict live ship, the Paragon, in order to rescue the Vivacia and Kyle and Wintro. Now, there's a couple of problems with this, and as soon as they sort of come up with this idea, everyone's like, whoa, hold on a second. First of all, we do not have the money for this. You know, the Vestrit family is in dire financial straits, and we cannot afford to outfit this expedition. And secondly, this live ship Paragon is reputed to be mad, and certainly seems like that's the case. And it's murdered its previous crew, so there's a whole lot going on with that. But, you know, as these issues arise, Molto, who is the youngest Vestrit sort of woman, she basically says, look, don't worry about the cash. This guy, Rain, who's a member of this mysterious group called the Rainwild Traders, he wants to marry me. They're a very rich family. I will take one for the family and I will marry him, and we can use their wealth to fund the expedition. So that all sort of goes ahead. And like on top of all of that, you've got the satrap of Jamalia, who's this sort of incompetent ruler of the kingdom that Bingtown is part of. He is getting slightly hacked off with how unruly his subjects in Bingtown are becoming. So he sets sail with a fleet of mercenaries, foreign mercenaries, in order to stamp his authority on his recalcitrant subjects, which ends up really not going how he thought it was going to. So yeah, that's kind of very basically the plot. But there's a lot going on in this. It's quite hard to summarise, actually. So yeah, the question on everyone's lips: is this book any good? And the answer to that is yes. It is absolutely fantastic. It is a really brilliant second entry in a trilogy. It does everything you want from the middle book out of 3. You know, it moves first off, it moves the character arcs on in a very believable and satisfying way. Second, there's a lot of mysteries that were set up in the first book, and we get a lot of information revealed about them. And Thirdly, it really expands the geopolitical scale of events that are going on, and in doing so, it really raises the stakes for the third book in the concluding book in the trilogy. So yeah, I'll go into those points in a little bit more detail. You know, the character arcs, first of all, that some of the character arcs in this are absolutely brilliant, and Hobb is quick becoming one of my absolute favourite character writers in the fantasy genre. Her and Joe Abercrombie are up there, I think, for character writers in fantasy. Absolutely great stuff. You know, I really liked the character of Kefria, who's one of the Vestrit family. She's this quite subdued character that doesn't get a lot of respect to start with, but and her character arc in this book particularly is quite a slow burn, and not a lot happens until right at the end. You get this really key decision that she makes, and she takes a very brave choice that is sort of out of character, but there's been so much development, slow development over the course of these two books, that the decision is absolutely vindicated by all the character work that Hobb has put in up to that point. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really interesting as well how Kenneth, the pirate captain, he starts to win over Wintro, who's a trainee priest originally. Basically wins him over until this priest is really supportive and a big advocate, basically, for his piracy. It's very interesting to see how Kenneth manipulates that situation. Also, I thought that Althea's sort of love triangle that she has with Brashentrell and Gragtanera was a great vehicle for like self-discovery for her. And there's like a scene at the end in particular, near the end of the book anyway, where she has this conversation with Grag, and her self-realization in that moment is brilliant to read. And then you've got Molto. Molto is, in the first book and at the start of this book, she is just such an annoying brat, honestly. But by the end of this, you really invested in her character, and she's undergone this complete transformation, complete metamorphosis into like a really courageous, determined young woman. I mean, yeah, that's some great reading. And also, I mean, I tell you what, Hobb really knows how to write a completely obnoxious character as well. The two examples in the first book in this series, it's really Kyle Haven that takes that mantle. But in this book, Davad Restart is just a terrible, terrible person. Really annoying to read. But at the same time, you need characters like that, and Hobb does it great. You know, basically, the character writing is absolutely some of the best out there from my own personal sort of reading experience. So yeah, anyway, on to my sort of the second big strength of this book is that we get an awful lot of answers, and Hobb handles that really well in a couple of ways, really, I think. You know, first off, she paces the reveals absolutely to perfection. You know, she's constantly giving you little hints about some of the mysteries that she set up in the first book, but she doesn't give you all at once, and she's constantly leaving you wanting more with it. So we get all kinds of information about the Rain Wilds and the traders that live there, who were sort of, they were in the first book, but we didn't get a lot of them. We get an awful lot more of that here. We get information about Wizardwood, which is what the live ships are made of, and the origins of that. Also stuff about the nature of live ships and the magic that animates them. We get stuff about the sea serpents that were introduced in the first book, and a lot more information about what their agenda is. And also we get just a bunch of character backstory stuff. For a bunch of the characters that is very interesting, particularly about the sort of mad live ship Paragon that they're outfitting for this rescue expedition. So yeah, loads of juicy stuff that you wanted the information about, but as I say, Hobb does a really great job of just sort of tantalizing you with these little bits of information, but somehow leaving you with more questions than when you started. Even though you've got a bunch of the answers that you wanted, there's just the mysteries just get deeper and deeper. Yeah, so really intriguing stuff there. And also, I don't know if this is the case. This is one of my theories about this, and maybe if you've read it, you can sort of tell me if I'm on the right track here. Because I don't think it's been said outright in either of the two books, but is Amber the fool from the Farseer trilogy? Because I think there's a bunch of hints that is the case, and I've thought so from the end of the first book in the series right through this book. And I'm still not 100% sure, but I think that is what's going on here. But we'll see anyway. But anyway, the third thing I really liked about this book, and what really moved it into the epic fantasy sort of realm for me, was the expansion of the scope of the plot and the raising of the stakes. As I said, the first book, like I say, is very much a family drama, but this one certainly moves more into the epic fantasy realm with the sort of, like I say, the expansion of the geopolitical scope of it, with like Bingtown becoming the centre of this sort of nascent war between the larger realms of Jamalia and of Kalked. And Hobb uses this to start exploring themes of like national identity and ethnogenesis, so like the creation or the formation of new cultural groups. Particularly, this is particularly evident in the sort of plot threads that follow the sort of independence movement in Bingtown, which has got definite hints of the American Revolution for me, and also in the formation of the sort of pirate kingdom that Kenner is trying to get set up. So that was really interesting to read, and just overall, I thought this book, and in fact, I've read 5 Robin Hobb books so far this year. I've read all the Farseer trilogy and the first 2 books in the Liveship Traders trilogy, and all of them have been absolutely fantastic. So I would, just highly recommend any fan of fantasy to get into a bit of Robin Hobb. And I think what this goes to show for me is that you can get some. I heard about these books on YouTube. You can get some really great book recommendations on YouTube. I don't think I would have started reading them without seeing other people's reviews of them. So I forget whose they were that I saw, but thank you, mystery reviewer. The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. Definitely read it.